Oh dear, it's happening, pumpkins. Today is actually the day. You're never going to believe it. Well, you are, because you've seen the title. I'm unboxing the Deviant Moon Tarot. Okay, I can't explain why I put it off for so long. It was sent to me as a gift, I would say 2 years ago now, by a friend of mine, a lovely witchy friend of mine called Kate Stefano, who actually does have a channel on YouTube. She did have tons of videos up and then she scaled it right back down and is not currently uploading anything witchy at the moment, which I'm really sad about actually. Come back, babe. But yeah, she kindly gifted me a copy of the Deviant Moon Tarot by Patrick Valenza, and obviously it's a classic deck. I believe that it was first published in 2008, but it's been really hard to get that kind of information online from the search that I did earlier. I must admit I didn't have a great deal of time, but if it did originally come out in 2008, then it's been around now for 10 years, which is pretty exciting. And I know that there are some very strong feelings about this deck. It's very divisive, which is super exciting. I'm not sure how I'm going to take it. I really couldn't tell you. Of course, I've seen a lot of the imagery over time. I have consciously made a point of staying away from the imagery since I've had the deck ready to unbox, because I want the reactions to the imagery to be as fresh as possible, and I want to have kind of had a break from thinking about it until this moment, and that's pretty much happened. I've managed to kind of keep away from it, and if I see it anywhere I just scroll on by. So yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it. I'm excited to find out. I know for some people it is an absolute foundation deck. For other people they find it creepy, they find it yucky, they find it unsettling and disconcerting and all of those things. Some people think it's really great for shadow work. Other people have said that they find it quite comedic and a little bit kind of silly. So this is going to be exciting. I'm not going to lie, I am very thrilled. So I'm just going to go right ahead and pull at the plastic. And I actually feel like the plastic is kind of worn enough for me to get in without scissors, because yeah, it's just been hanging around for so long and I kept moving it. I kept taking it out of my tarot shelves to unbox it and then putting it back, and then I was going to unbox it again and then I was going to put it back again. It was just getting really ridiculous, so I can't wait to finally get into it. I feel like now is the time. As usual with all of my unboxings and first impressions videos, I'm going to be doing cutaways so you can see some detail. Please do not complain down in the comments about me not showing enough of the cards or not showing all of the cards. That's not what this is for. It's not a walkthrough. You will find, I'm sure, plenty of Deviant Moon walkthroughs to keep you fully satisfied on other channels. This is really just about my first walk around the deck, my initial impressions of it, and so I only show usually just under half the deck. So my hope for the Deviant Moon Tarot is that it's going to become another really good deck for my Halloween and Samhain readings. I'm definitely not expecting to put it away at the end of the season though. I would like it to become obviously a working deck and part of my working collection as well. So published by US Games, guys. Patrick Valenza is the artist. I believe he's a storybook illustrator, and I've never seen any of his other work, but of course I know him by reputation. His reputation precedes him in the tarot world as a result of this little peach that I'm holding right now. Okay. On the side of the box it says, stylized characters and moonlit dreamscapes draw you into the luminescent world of Deviant Moon Tarot. This special borderless edition highlights Patrick Valenza's stunning artwork and allows readers to connect more deeply with the evocative tarot imagery. Okay, the plastic is coming off and I'm about to dive into this weird, scaly, slimy, odd rabbit hole. That's how I kind of feel like it's going to be for me. Okay, so I've got the little white book right here, Deviant Moon Tarot by Patrick Valenza, and it's what you can expect for the little white book from US Games. There's a few sentences on each of the cards. There's information for both upright meanings and reverse meanings, as well as a few sentences, a couple of sentences each, I would say, just kind of encapsulating the overall meaning for each card. You've got your acknowledgements and dedications, some information about the creation of Deviant Moon Tarot, and there does appear to be one spread right at the back of the little white book. Is there just one? Yeah, just one, and it is a 10 card spread, which looks really interesting actually. It is called the lunatic spread, which I'm sure more than a few people are going to have a problem with and be sensitive to. It doesn't bother me. Lunatic is really an archaic word anyway. But yeah, and there's also some blank pages for notes. Okay, I've got the little title card here, and some information about Patrick Valenza. Born and raised on Long Island, New York. Began training as an artist during his childhood, so he is a self-trained artist. Patrick Valenza began training himself as an artist during his childhood. His art developed as a way to explore his experiences and share his stories with others through pictures rather than words. Well, if he's exploring his experiences in Deviant Moon, then I don't know what kinds of drugs he was on. Oh dear, excuse my humour there. Okay. So I begin with a very lively looking fool with this incredible white and red striped jester suit, and some snapping piranhas jumping out of the water here that the fool appears to be running in or dancing in. One of the piranhas is biting onto the fool's leg, which is a really interesting detail. And straight away you've got that really creepy, almost like jigsaw kind of face on the fool. Really just kind of like a horror movie style face, really unsettling and unnerving. I very much enjoy this image of the magician. I love the fact that the magician has 4 hands, and each of the 4 hands, each of the 4 arms is engaging with each of the 4 elements in tarot. So one of the arms is holding a wand, a club if you will, or a wand. One of the arms has a sword, one is holding a pentacle, and the 4th hand is dipping the finger into what appears to be wine actually in a goblet. It's red liquid, so it could be wine, we could think of it as blood. It's really creepy, this image. It's kind of gross. I feel like he's doing something kind of gross, like he's sullying in some way or contaminating the water in the cup, but then it would depend what it is. If it's wine, then I want him to get his grubby mitts off of it, thank you very much. If it's blood, then things just got a little bit darker. One of the things that appeals to me the most about the Magician card is the 4 shadows of what look to be very kind of alien-esque figures who are clearly looking on as the Magician does his thing. And I think those shadows are actually really creepy, but they also give me a sense that I'm standing amongst a crowd and that one of those silhouettes, one of those shadows could actually be mine. And that makes me feel really close to the Magician and really very much plunged into this weird, nightmarish world. The High Priestess is such a surprise. There seems to be a very angry crescent moon face on one side, or very stressed out or kind of pained or disappointed or shocked, or all of those emotions. And then on the other side you've got the sleeping face of the dark moon, slumbering, lazy, really not paying attention at all. So it's almost like you've got one side of her that is racked with shock, which is stemming from presumably seeing the truth or understanding the truth of something, but then you've got this other option for her in the dark moon where she's in slumber and potentially isn't interested or isn't capable of seeing the truth. I really like the idea that ignorance is bliss. That's what's coming through for me here. The idea that the crescent moon represents a realization which has brought her to a sense of trauma or deep dissatisfaction, and the dark moon represents more the bliss of not knowing and staying asleep. At least that's what I'm taking from it right now. I also really enjoy the fact that there are wings on this High Priestess, and they appear to be made out of metal, and there appears to be nails kind of studded into the metal to keep this beautiful sort of metal work together, if you will. So this is a really beautiful depiction of the High Priestess, very different from what I'm used to with her, and I will really look forward to playing with that. Again, with the Hierophant, I'm seeing these gorgeous sort of gunmetal grey wings, and I really enjoy the fact that the Hierophant has a little puppet in his pocket. I think that's very clever. It taps into the idea of, you know, kind of religion as the opium of the people kind of thing, and the idea of us all just mindly following and being subservient and being docile and being very much at the mercy of the ideas of the church and stuff. So, yeah, just basically sort of being under under a spell, being under the spell of organised religion. And I don't work very, very literally with the idea of the Hierophant as a symbol of organised religion, but I look at that as a metaphor for any kind of sort of mental slavery or any kind of herd mentality that might be going on in a querent's life that may need to be examined or brought to the surface, as well as obviously there's a bunch of other things that I tend to think of when I look at the Hierophant and when the Hierophant comes up in a reading. But I do think of the Hierophant as being a symbol of a man of the clergy, somebody that is respected within a religious tradition and an orthodoxy. And so I really like the fact that there's a puppet there in the pocket. I just think that's really clever. Oh, by the way, guys, I never mentioned the cardstock. I would say that it is thicker than playing cardstock. There is a little bit of bite to that cardstock, just so you know. So it's not what I would call super thick, but it is definitely better than playing cardstock. This borderless edition that I've got is that way anyway. So the Lovers is the next card I want to talk about. I really have a lot of love for the Lovers card in Deviant Moon Tarot. I think this is really beautiful. I love the fact that the moon is full and appears to be kind of gazing on the lovers here in their very impassioned stance, and there appears to be a light beam coming from the moon sort of shining on the couple. It's very subtle. It's a very subtle detail, but I really enjoy it. I love her pose in particular and the shape of her body. I love her head tilted back with the hair flowing down. There's just something really lovely about this, even though I'm very, very picky about the amount of raw sexuality that I want to see in the Lovers card. I can very quickly go from being into the more sexualized Lovers imagery to being turned off for reasons that sometimes I can't even explain. I just don't like it. So it was definitely going to be a bit hit and miss with the Lovers card in Deviant Moon, but I actually really like it, and I love the fact that the snake is going in there for a bite of the guy's leg. That's really interesting. I really enjoy the fact that the Strength card is this super hench guy with this very determined look on his face. We just so often see women in the Strength card, so it's really interesting to see this very, very different contrasting character with a hugely different physiology and therefore lots of different symbolic associations in many ways. And there is no lion to be found in the Strength card in Deviant Moon Tarot. We've got this prehistoric looking odd sort of amphibious creature, and there's definitely a tussle going on here. You can see the tail of the amphibious creature around the guy's leg, and I really enjoy the fact that this figure who's wrestling with this prehistoric looking weird creature is staring directly into the creature's mouth. I feel like he's actually looking in there for a secret or an answer, or to gain some kind of ultimate knowledge and therefore ultimate control over this hideous, scary creature. And to me, that's very shadow worky, so that's kind of what I'm taking from it. Okay, so it's completely fucking with me in so many ways that the Death card doesn't have a title on it. I had to sort of glance at it a few times to check, but actually the word death is missing, which is really odd. And I'm kind of assuming that there is some rhyme or reason to this. I'm just looking through and it would appear that, yeah, some of these cards are not titled. They don't have titles on them. Why not? Okay. Oh, right, so I'm so perplexed. Right, so the minor arcana are not actually, they don't have titles on them apart from the court cards? Okay, so why doesn't death have a title? That's just really sticking out to me as something that's odd. But anyway, in relation to the death card, super, super freaky, unsettling, weird as hell. I love it. I actually really love the fact that there's a sinking ship. There's actually a big sort of galleon going down in the background into the ocean, which is fucked up. It looked like it was just about to come into land. It can definitely see land from where it is, but unfortunately it's going down in the sea. And there's also this really industrial looking factory situation going on in the background, and I've definitely seen that in previous cards as well, but I don't think it's been anywhere near as domineering as a background feature as it is in the death card. So there's just this really big smoky factory that seems like it's going in full force, and that's just really intriguing as well. But I must admit to being unsettled that there is no title on the death card. It just goes all the way from top to bottom and the word death is not present. I'm kind of assuming that that's the only major arcana card without a title, because it's so connected to the themes and the meanings of Deviant Moon. I don't know, but that's something I wasn't expecting. How odd. I really enjoy this depiction of the devil in the Deviant Moon Tarot. In many ways, it is very much playing to type. It is very much honouring the stereotype of the devil. But you've got these really long fingers and this gangly kind of pose that make him look very alien-esque as well. And then this ridiculous smile, and again this kind of Halloween mask kind of face. And then you've got the wings. You've got again these kind of metalwork wings, which I think is really awesome. It's great to see a devil with angel wings, so I really enjoy this, and I really love the background as well. I think that the gold yellow kind of background fading to black contrasts perfectly with this very deep sort of almost shiny red. I really love the moon. I enjoy the fact that this face of the full moon looks almost devious and plotting and unpleasant in many ways, and you can see that the moon is indeed the puppeteer in this situation, and you've got these two marionettes dancing and arguing, seeming to have some kind of a little tussle here. They're trying to kick each other presumably, and it really does look like kind of a more equal and equally violent Punch and Judy show with the moon controlling everything. And I really enjoy this. It speaks to me immediately of the way that our minds play tricks on us, and the way that we assume certain things without having a true understanding of what the other person is feeling, and that leads to misunderstandings, and that leads to tension and confusion and conflict. And it's really about recognizing that sometimes you don't understand what's going on in another person's mind, and that sometimes you allow your perception of something to run away with you without really trying to get an understanding of where the other person is coming from. So I like the fact that the moon has control of both of these people, and to me that's one of the main things that I'm taking from it upon first reflection. Page of Swords is really interesting. Half of the face on Page of Swords is kind of like a robot face with this kind of microscope eye coming out of it that obviously has a light inside of it. It's just really sort of technological and interesting to think about what that could be about, considering it's the Page of Swords and kind of exploring the associations there. I would definitely like to think of that robotic side of the face as being about advancement and furthering your understanding and bringing knowledge to the proceedings that really helps you to unlock something or make something easier for yourself and others. You know, but I also like to think that it's about the two different sides, or the two different ways that you could see something or approach something, depending upon how much of that energy of the Suit of Swords you want to bring into the situation with you. I'd have to think more about this, but I very much enjoy that face. I really love the contrast there. Ten of Swords is very claustrophobic. Obviously this is kind of like a torture box that this figure has been placed into, and then swords have been kind of placed through. And this isn't an illusion, this isn't magic without a K, this isn't something where the figure inside is kind of somehow evading the swords. The swords are piercing the figure, and the figure is clearly not having a good time. So that is a really interesting depiction of Ten of Swords. Uncomfortable, disconcerting. It would definitely draw my eye to it in a reading. And there's a lot of high drama here. This is a very intense card. Nine of Swords is particularly intense and quite saddening in a way. It seems that there's, you know, this demon goblin thing sort of snapping and biting at this figure, who is biting their own hand with the level of anxiety that this is bringing up. So this is really quite deep, actually. I'm having quite a strong reaction to this as I'm looking at it. And it appears as well that there's also a pet cat on the bed, but to me that cat looks to be dead. That cat looks to have been strangled, actually. It doesn't look to be breathing. It looks like it's died in quite a shocked and horrible way. So I feel like the demon got hold of the cat and has now come for the owner of the cat in the bed. I really love Seven of Swords in Deviant Moon Tarot. There's very much this kind of trickster energy, which I think is part of Seven of Swords that can be very overlooked at times. The idea that it's a trickster archetype and it's kind of playing a joke and ultimately making you think more about what you've got and what's there and what everything means, etc. But instead of kind of being seen in the act of stealing or betraying or running off or playing the trick, instead it's almost like this incredible sort of sword sword trickery that's going on. There's a sword swallowing is about to happen, basically. Oh wow, Six of Swords is amazing. It's like a hot air balloon and the figure's head is turning into the balloon. That is so trippy and beautiful, and I really love the fact that the terrain that this figure is leaving in its very eccentric machine vehicle thing is on fire. So literally this figure has kind of imminently left a very bad situation where they could have actually been killed and their, you know, vehicle would have been melted and burned to a cinder. And they're now off to a land that doesn't appear to be on fire. So it's very much staying true to Six of Swords meaning and imagery and symbolism, but really departing from it so strongly as well. Three of Swords, as many of you will know, is my absolute favourite card from the minor arcana in any of the 4 suits, and I really enjoy the depiction here. Obviously it's very sad, it's very forlorn, but at the same time I really enjoy it. I think it's very bold imagery. I think it's beautiful the way that the red heart is kind of painted onto the dress, or it could be bloodstains that have come through in the shape of the heart, you know, and is just kind of dripping there. Oh yeah, I think it is blood dripping. Yeah, so that's really clever that the blood is kind of like bled out onto the cloth into the shape of a heart. I think it's really beautiful. I think it honours the original Rider-Waite imagery, but at the same time departs from it in a very bold, notable fashion that you won't forget in a hurry. Ace of Swords is really awesome, but I must admit that immediately I thought that this was Queen of Swords, because you've got that crown headdress thing there and it's just so close up and it does look like kind of a divine feminine sort of queenly depiction. So I'm kind of a little unsettled that that's not the Queen of Swords and that it's the Ace of Swords. Knight of Wands is very kind of horror, sci-fi, almost a bit Geigery. I think that's a flea that Knight of Wands is riding on, which is really interesting and has very intriguing implications. Or it's based on a flea anyway. It reminds me of a flea. It looks like it's about to jump. And if I look appalled, it's because I despise fleas. Ugh. Oh, I'm sorry. I am like, you know, into biocentrism and everything, but like fuck fleas for real, honestly. But yeah, Knight of Wands riding on the back of what looks to be a bit of a flea-like creature is interesting and is something that I'm going to enjoy working with. And I love those purple diaphanous wings. Absolutely gorgeous. Catching the moonlight there behind. Really pretty and very much draws my eye to it. I really enjoy the figure in Six of Wands. I really love this really rather far out psychedelic flower that this figure is sitting in, and the outfit and just everything is speaking to me. It's really gorgeous, and I feel like this figure is addressing in a very emotive, inspiring way these figures that are stood in front with the wands, ready and waiting and willing to serve. That's how I feel, and I feel like I'm one of those figures, and that the central hand of the 6 hands is mine, you know, just holding the wand forward like I'm ready to do what you want to do. What's the plan? I'll go into battle for you, kind of thing. So that's what that makes me think of. 5 of Wands is a hell of a ruckus. I'm glad I'm not in the middle of that shit, that's for sure. King of Cups is an absolute fucking boss in just about every regard. I really enjoy his regalia. I really love King of Cups. He's my favourite of the 4 kings. And this depiction is absolutely beautiful. And I love the fact that he's wearing like blood red nail polish. It's gorgeous. This is a gorgeous card. I can almost feel the texture, the velvety texture of that purple tunic. Just absolutely out of this world. And that jewellery is off the fucking chain. I sometimes feel really alienated from the family that is often depicted in 10 of Cups. I often feel like I'm almost very far away from the family, or because I'm not really a familial traditionalist and I'm not hugely into like family values and whatnot, and I'm not hugely about valuing family over other kinds of connections, again, maybe that creates a sense of distance as well whenever I see the family, you know, like the nuclear family depicted in 10 of Cups. But I must say that in the Deviant Moon Tarot, I really do like this family. I could really get on board with this family. You've got the cute little baby there holding a pentacle up and grabbing onto his dad's ear. And then obviously there's a lot of love and a lot of connection going on between the parents. You've got the mischievous older kid holding up the wand and playing and having a grand old time. And then I really like the kind of wheel leg on the father figure as well. This is just really beautiful. Like, I wish nothing but the best for this family. This family are fucking sweet. This family are okay by me. They're making me feel like I've literally been invited round to dinner or something, honestly. It's really cute. Ooh, okay. 9 of Cups is a genie being brought out of a lamp. Now I'll have to think a lot more about my thoughts and feelings on that. That is really interesting, and that just gives me so much to think about. That's all I can really say right now, to be honest. I don't think I can go into more detail, but that just really intrigues me. It's a very different depiction, and I'll have to think about what the symbol of the genie means to me, and what the idea of having your wishes granted means to me, and how that relates in my mind to Nine of Cups. But I've been thinking for a while, you know, that my way of viewing the Nine of Cups is getting a bit stagnant now. It is something that could do with a little bit of updating. So I'm definitely not mad about the fact that I'm going to be taken on a journey there, and I will need to think a lot more about what that actually means. Ace of Cups is absolutely stunning. The hair, the headdress, that facial expression, the gorgeous gleam on the skin tone, the jewellery, the whole thing is speaking to me on levels and levels. It's really, really beautiful. Knight of Pentacles is in the most far out, steampunk, unapologetically horror-esque wheelchair thing I've ever seen. I really love this. It's got a smoking chimney on the top as well. Well, several chimneys on the top. That's just really interesting for Knight of Pentacles there. I can't complain about that. It's like armour, but it's like a machine with armour attached. It's just incredible. It's just gorgeous. Ten of Pentacles, when it comes to the figures that are involved, is definitely a strong departure from what you normally would see in a deck that plays with the Rider-Waite imagery. You've got this couple of people playing a game of chess, very invested in this game of chess. One appears to be markedly older than the other, who appears to be a youth who may be being taught the game of chess. But then underneath you've got this other figure who appears to be neglected and is kind of hiding away, and even looks as though the chess table is kind of balancing on them. And they have a little figurine that they're playing with, but they're clearly distressed. And this also is making me feel some feelings. It's making me feel something. So I'll have to sit with that as well. But that's definitely an interesting departure. It's making me think about how two people could be so bound up, or a bunch of people could be so bound up in doing what they're doing and pursuing what they want to pursue and having their experiences and being immersed in those experiences, that they may actually forget somebody in their midst who may really need help or support, or who may be rejected or is being made to feel different or alone. So that's interesting, and there's implications around that as well to do with finances and class and wealth and that kind of jazz. So I think that's going to be a really deep card for me to go into. Well, pumpkins, these have been my initial thoughts and impressions on the Deviant Moon Tarot. I finally have it in my possession. Obviously it's always been in my possession, but it's been in its plastic waiting for me. So now it's arrived with me. I'm definitely going to be playing with it and hopefully breaking it out for these Halloween and Samhain readings. I'll see how I'll go. I need to do a few practice runs with it and get a bit more comfortable with it. There are some decks, as I've mentioned many times before on the channel, that I feel like I can dive straight in with and I crack them open for clients immediately. I'd only had Dust to Onyx for about 48 hours before I used it for a client. Genuinely, I was that ready. It was just instant. But then there are other decks that I need to work with and work with and work with and work with, and I don't use them for clients for ages. So, but I think Deviant Moon is more likely to be one that I will start to work with more quickly. So that's exciting. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to know if you own Deviant Moon, if you want to own Deviant Moon. Maybe you haven't known that much about it, but you are thinking of adding it to your wish list after watching this video, or maybe you despised it and you need to now go away from this video and be sick in a bucket. Please do let me know down below. Much love, kittens, and I'll see you soon. Blessed be.